Let's head back down to Canberra now and catch up with the Energy Minister, Angus Taylor. He's managed to get back up from the chamber. Thanks for joining us, Angus. First up, I've got to get your thoughts on Senator Connie Fierravanti-Wells and her unloading on Scott Morrison, calling him a bully, saying he's not trustworthy. What do you make of that exit, basically her exit speech from the Senate?
Yeah, Chris, can I just say, I saw your introduction and your comments about Christian Porter's speech was very well made. It was a brilliant speech and I really encourage people to either watch it or read it if they get a chance. It shows you the mark of the man and the quality of the person that Christian Porter is. To your question, Connie, look, that's not been my experience with the Prime Minister. My experience with the Prime Minister has been he's a fantastic team leader and I've found him absolutely brilliant to work with, decent, hard-working, incredibly hard-working, and dedicated to the cause, which is Australia and the Liberal Party. And so Connie was beaten fairly and squarely in a democratic poll by the Senate pre-selectors in the New South Wales division. And it's time to move on. And
well, you know, she's never said any of this outside of Parliament or publicly before now. She's lost her pre-selection. Then she's unloaded this in this way against her party, against her Prime Minister in the Senate. Should she be expelled from the party?
Oh, look, that's a matter for the New South Wales division. I think the important thing is to point out that I thoroughly disagree with her comments. I think they're quite wrong. And they're certainly not been my experience. And I've worked very, very closely with Scott Morrison over the last few years as a fellow member of Cabinet, of course. And you know, I think what's important now is we move on. It'd be good for Connie to move on as well.
Indeed. Now, tell us about this petrol excise cut. So we've seen petrol prices drop back below $2 today, down in the 180s, I'm told. How long do you expect that to happen? I mean, you're worried that this 22 cents a litre cut will just be swamped by the next increase? Or do you think petrol can stay below $2 for months to come?
Oh, Chris, I'm not into commodity forecasting in my role. I think that's a dangerous place for me to go. Obviously, petrol prices have been enormously volatile over the last little while, and we're facing circumstances in what's happening in the Ukraine and Russia. Of course, Russia being a very big supplier of oil that were not expected and very hard to predict. So I'm not going to try and predict that. I mean, what we're doing, though, is providing these temporary and targeted relief on cost of living, and oil prices have been right at the centre of that.
Will it all be passed on? Is it guaranteed every one of those 22.5 cents a litre will be passed on?
Well, it's a good question, and of course the ACCC watches this very closely. I know under Rod Sims that was something he was personally very focused on, and I'm sure the new chair of the ACCC will take the very same approach. So it will be important to keep an eye on this, but I think competitive pressures are strong. When you take 22 cents of the excise, it's very hard for the retailers to be able to hold on to that, and I think competition will drive it through. It'll take a couple of weeks, by the way, for this to all pass through. That's the nature of the way the market works. But these pressures, as I say, they're temporary. They're driven by extenuating circumstances.
I was going to say, I think we're all familiar with the price cuts taking a long while to come in, whereas price increases happen instantaneously. It's not only in petrol prices that happens. I want to go to energy and climate policy and your push for more renewable or low emissions energy. You're pumping more money into hydrogen. There's a lot of people talking about hydrogen. The South Australian Liberals were talking about that in their election campaign, and Labor. The Federal Labor Party talking about it. But can you point to anywhere in the world where liquid hydrogen is being produced and used on a commercial basis for energy?
Yeah, I can. Newcastle. I mean, we're doing it now. That's how we make fertiliser. That's how we make ammonium nitrate for the mining industry. Hydrogen is not new, Chris. It feeds the world. I mean, we produce that nitrogen fertiliser.
Are you making liquid hydrogen to power cars, to power machinery, to create electricity? That's not happening anywhere.
So that's my point. We've been making hydrogen in the world, producing hydrogen typically from gas, by the way. And this is an important point, and I'll come back to it. But we've been producing hydrogen for over 100 years. The Germans pioneered this early in the First World War, and it's become a standard way of producing a number of products, particularly fertiliser, and that's how we feed the world, from hydrogen. And that hydrogen is converted over to ammonia, urea, and nitrogen fertilisers. So that's not new. What's new is we are seeing a broader set of applications that are starting to emerge. We have seen the first shipment of liquid hydrogen go from Australia up to Japan, and the Japanese, we know, will be the first big users of hydrogen in their electricity generators. So, look, it's an important market. Its applications are changing, they're broadening, and we want to be in that. I mean, we are a big energy and commodity provider to the Asia Pacific, and we want to remain that way. And hydrogen is a product where we see great potential, as with lithium and cobalt and a range of other minerals and energy products that are becoming a real opportunity for Australia. But we'll continue to sell our gas, which is selling, let me say, with demand that we haven't seen for a long time, perhaps ever. Our iron ore, our coal, and this is part of the way we're funding the budget, of course, is we are seeing the dividend of a very strong economy, huge demand for Australian products, and we want to keep expanding that product range because that's how Australia has got to the point it has as a very wealthy, successful nation.
Thanks for joining us, Minister. Appreciate your time.
Good on you, Chris. Thank you.
Angus Taylor there, the Federal Energy Minister.